I'm here to talk to you about our social enterprise. I'm not an expert on the topic of social enterprises, but over the past 4 years I have sort of kind of figured out what it means. It's a business and it's a non-profit, but it's neither just a business nor just a non-profit, it's both. And it's more than just a business that supports a non-profit. It's a business and a non-profit that's very, very closely interlinked. So there's a very close symbiotic relationship between the two. The business feeds off the non-profit and the non-profit feeds off the business. And it's very difficult sometimes to separate the two into two different boundaries. So yeah, I'm going to be talking to you about both of these organizations. We do treat them as separate organizations, but at the end of the day, it really is one social enterprise. Okay. First of all, Unravel Surf Travel. That's the business side of things. That's my wife and myself. We met in Amsterdam in 2008. We moved to South Africa in 2009. And in 2010, we started Unravel Surf Travel. Basically what we do is we do surf yoga photo tours. That's our main focus. I also do surf lessons and guided surf trips. And Zhenya does a whole bunch of other things. Sometimes she does too much, but that's our main focus, surf yoga photo tours. She's actually entertaining our guests today. We're on tour at the moment, as Martin mentioned. We're in Buffalo's Bay. We've got a group of Russians. So she's entertaining them for the morning while I'm here. These surf yoga photo tours are 14-day packages. It includes all transport, accommodation, food, surfing lessons, yoga sessions, and photography workshops. And then obviously it includes the whole tourism aspect of the garden route as well, which is, the garden route is just awesome for tourism. There's so much to do. There's just so much variety. I mean, you've got bloke runs and there's skydiving. It's just about anything that a tourist could ask for. And in terms of surfing, it's really, really accessible as well. So yeah, that's the business side of things. As I mentioned, we do focus our attention most of the time on the tours because I enjoy the tours more than anything else. I really enjoy working with a group of people for a period of 2 weeks and seeing them go from zero to hero in terms of surfing and yoga. These are two of our most recent tours. The top one of the year was to Mozambique. We went to the Kruger Park first and then Mozambique afterwards. And the bottom one, that's our sort of normal itinerary, the most popular ones between Cape Town and the Garden Route. But yeah, we do like to mix it up. We're going to try and do a KwaZulu-Natal tour in 2015, so we'll see how it goes. And then just a few more photos for you. This is what we do on the surf yoga photo tours. It's very adventurous. It's mostly for young people. We normally start the day with yoga on the beach. I know you guys know what yoga is, I assume. Most people these days know what yoga is. You contort yourself into all kinds of funny positions. We've got a yoga instructor on tour with us. Like I mentioned, I'm the surfing instructor. And all these photographs are the work of Zhenya. She's our photographer. Actually, that's Zhenya over there. It's the first time she went paragliding. It's with dolphin paragliding. They operate out of Sedgefield most of the time. Sometimes they do map of Africa as well. And then we focus a lot on adventure. We jam-pack the program full of as much stuff as we possibly can. And we try and give the people a really awesome experience. A 2-week tour that's based around surfing, but as you can see, it's much more than just surfing. Most of them are beginners. Hey, cell phones on silent. Most of the people are total beginners in terms of surfing and in terms of yoga. But by the time they leave, as you can see, that is not bad for a person that's never surfed before in his life. It's not bad at all. It's very hard work on my part. I have to work really hard to get into that level because I put a pair of flippers on my feet and I swim out with them. But that's what it takes to get a beginner onto a wave like that. Because I don't know, have you got any surfers? Yeah, this morning.
I took like 2 months to study my points.
Yeah, so it's not.
I've surfed. I can't say I'm a surfer.
Okay, it's not that easy actually.
No,
It's pretty tricky.
I started at 38 and it took me 3 months, so you did well.
Yeah, I mean, look, it took me almost half a year to stand up, but I was a little picky and I didn't have anybody helping me. So.
I had to stand up, otherwise I would never get away. I let the dick back. He does say more.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically the surf yoga photo tours. We do about 4, 5, 6 tours per year. The last year and a half hasn't been great for a variety of reasons. First of all, we got the whole visa issue. Our main market is Russia, by the way. Zhenya herself is Russian, so she does the marketing in Russia. It's sort of a little niche market. Surf tours really took off in Russia for some reason about 5, 6 years ago. Quicksilver and Rip Curl opened massive stores in Moscow, like big flagship stores. I mean, Quicksilver's got the mountain and the wave, so they do snowboarding as well. So they opened the store in Moscow because of the snowboarding, I suppose. And then the surfing sort of got in there, and the image just all of a sudden kind of exploded, and people wanted to just surf. And funny enough, you wouldn't believe this, but if you go to Bali and you land in Denpasar, as you walk into the airport, there is an advert the size of that wall in Russian for surf tours.
Yes, awesome.
So, Bali is the main destination, and then Russians also travel to Portugal, France, and Morocco for surf tours, and then also Dominican Republic, and I think Brazil is just starting to take off. But this is a new market for Russia. I mean, when we started, we were the first people bringing Russians into South Africa to surf. So it's kind of a bit of a niche market, and yeah, we like it that way. Yeah, so let's go on. I don't want to get stuck on one thing for too long. So then we get to the non-profit side of the social enterprise, the Surfer Kids non-profit. Stephanie over here is our community coordinator, and Marshall has been with us for 4 years now. Marshall, say hello. Marshall's been with us for 4 years. We founded the two organizations alongside one another. We really started them at the same time. And it's been the idea since the very beginning to have these two, you know, co-create one another. Yeah, it was, we're based in Frimersheim, Surfer Kids non-profit. Frimersheim, for those of you who don't know, is just outside Grootbrakrivier. It's about 35 kilometers outside Mossel Bay. We've got, whereas the business is just Zhenya and myself, it's a private business partnership between the two of us. The non-profit is a trust. We're a registered trust. It took about a year and a half to get through that process. But we are finally registered. We've got the NPO number, as you can see there. We've got 4 trustees. Stephanie's husband, Benny, is one of the trustees. It's a fascinating story how Benny ended up joining us, but it's a story for another time. You can go read it on the website. But Benny's been with us since the beginning as well. He kind of made the job his own. He just joined us on the first day we took the kids, and from there onwards just kept on coming back every time. It's a very inspirational story. We've got a nice interview with Benny, and I'll post that online afterwards. And then Peter Nielsen is our 4th trustee. He's the tour leader at the Point of Human Origin, Pinnacle Point. We've got 3 aspects to the Surfer Kids non-profit. The first one is the one that we started first off. That's the core surfing program. That's what it's all based around. We take a group of about 10 to 20 kids, depending on the time of the year. In winter, the group is smaller. In summer, the group is bigger. We take them surfing every weekend. And I say a regular group of kids because the same kids keep on coming back. Because surfing is not something that you learn in a weekend. It's something that's a long-term commitment. So we encourage the kids to come back again and again. The reason the group is so small is simply transport. That's our only limitation. We've got a waiting list of, I mean, half the school would come tomorrow if we had a bus, but we don't. Then we've got the Surf Kids volunteer program, which we launched it's about a year ago. We just had another volunteer. She finished 2 weeks in Frimersheim. The volunteers help the core surfing program, and then they also work at the Frimersheim Primary School. The primary school there is pretty understaffed. They've got 5 teachers, about 160 kids, 150 kids. Okay, 233 kids, 5 teachers, 4 classrooms. So it's 2 grades in the classroom. So the volunteers help at the school. They do extramural stuff. They help in the class, whatever there needs to be done. And then the last one is something that we just launched. We're doing the pilot tour next year, January. It's a community experience with the surfer kids. Frimersheim is, for those of you that haven't been there, it's a community. I mean, people, talk across the street. People, your neighbors are like your friends. People leave their doors open. This one looks after that one's house. It's really, for me, it was quite something. I grew up in Cape Town, and it doesn't work like that. I mean, you've got walls this high, and then you've got electric fencing on top of the walls. It's a totally different story. That sense of community has kind of been lost.
Friedensheim is an old
Yeah,
forestry state.
Yeah, it's a
mission station.
Missions.
yeah, it's a very old community. It was founded in 1860, I think. It used to be the farm called Gonakral, and it was bought by the farm was bought by the Dutch Reformed Church, who started the community. So they, some of the families go back generations. So there's a real sense of community. So that's what we're going to try and bring across with the community experience, and that will include a surfing lesson, and it will include a session with the surfer kids on the beach. So it's like a two-day experience. Yeah. So let's move on. So this is the core surfing program. That was our group. I'm sure most of you know about the Ross-Taylor Surfing Contest. It's a big thing in Buffalo's Bay every year. It's sort of an annual pilgrimage for the surfer kids. This was our 4th year at the Ross-Taylor. The first year we drove from Frimersheim again and again, 2 days in a row. The second year we camped. We had a river running through our tent. The second year we camped with a borrowed tent, which fell apart. The third year, the Ross-Taylor people sponsored a tent for us, which was a really Lani Army tent, very nice, very cool. And this year they rented a house for us.
Wow.
It was like,
Next year you're going to live in the Nutsi Cost.
I'll stick with the house. They can always rent us a bigger house, because we shared one bathroom. So
Oh, my hat.
yeah, so that was.
Has Marshall progressed to bigger waves yet?
Yeah, look, okay, so let's get to that. This is, the top is Marshall, sitting over here, and then Billy was supposed to be here today. Both Billy and Marshall have been with us since the very first time, which was the 20th November 2010. That wave is not that small. I mean, it looks pretty small, but yeah, getting them
Does he
into
know
big
he's going
waves.
the wrong way? Marshall, did you know you were going the wrong way? I think there's a little outboard motor under the surfboard.
Yeah, I don't know. For those of you who have tried surfing, I mean, look, it's very difficult to convey this with pictures, but if you have tried surfing, you will know. I always use the analogy. The difference between doing this and doing that is like the difference between walking the dog and running a marathon.
Yeah.
Literally. That's because in this case, you've got somebody helping you. I dragged him out to about halfway, about this deep. I dragged him out, I pushed him into a wave, and he stood up on a board that was 3 times his size. It's like a boat. I mean, you can't not stand up. And then you've got that, which is paddling to the back line on your own. You've got to paddle through the waves. You've got to get to the back line. You have to understand where the wave's breaking. You've got to read the ocean. If you don't read the ocean, you're never going to catch a wave. That in itself takes months to learn, because you have to understand, where is that wave going to break? Where do I have to be to catch that wave? It's a whole process that has to happen. So it's a massive difference between the two, and the same in Billy's case. Billy and Marshall are the last 2 remaining kids that we started with. We had 2 or 3 other ones. I'll explain what happened to them in a minute. So that's the core surfing program. That's where it all started. And then we've got the volunteer program, which is basically, that's what volunteers do. They help the kids surfing, the younger ones. Of course, they don't help the older ones. In fact, sometimes the older ones help the volunteers, because most of our volunteers are from Europe and they can't really surf. And then they do extramural activities. That's our first volunteer doing yoga classes at the primary school in Frimersheim, and she also helped with computer lessons. Frimersheim has it was a functioning computer room up until a month ago. Now the computers crashed, but they had a fully functioning computer room with about 15, 20 computers just standing there because none of the teachers, they didn't have the time or the skills to teach the kids any. So they had this whole computer room sponsored, but it was just standing there. So,
Did all the computers function?
I think 19 crash.
yeah, they were getting pretty old.
Yeah,
And
if you
they-
leave a computer standing, it's worse than.
Yeah.
They were never being used, so no
First the main
maintenance.
computer, and then they fixed the main computer.
Server.
Yeah, they found out I think 19 of the computers doesn't.
Yeah. So hopefully we can hopefully the primary school can, that's not something that's within our power to replace. Hopefully the primary school can get that sorted out. Maybe they can get it sponsored. That was sponsored, so you never know.
Sorry, Herman, do you get a lot of volunteers coming to help you with your non-profit side of your business?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's pretty recent. We launched it a year ago. We've had 2 paying volunteers now. I mean, look, it's actually voluntourism.
Yes.
It's a pretty new term. I mean, they don't really volunteer because the work they do is not really work. They work, they do stuff with the kids, but it's not work that has to be done. It's work that's fun
And
for
they
them to
pay
do.
to come.
They pay to come here. The money they pay goes towards sort of, I wouldn't call it a salary because it's a tiny amount,
Yeah.
but it goes towards paying for my time in front of the computer. It goes towards marketing. It goes towards Stephanie for facilitating the volunteer program. We give a donation to the school, and then whatever's left over goes to the Surfer Kids non-profit. So the volunteer program is kind of a funding initiative
Self-funding, yeah.
for the Surfer Kids non-profit. That's something that we struggle with actually. But anyway, we'll get to that as well. To answer your question, we've had 2 paying volunteers. We're getting 2 more in January, and then after that we've got 2 more bookings for March.
So if someone isn't
So-
from abroad paying you, would you accept them as volunteers
Uh,
in your program?
yeah,
Just
if-
want to help free time.
Yeah, we have had local inquiries, people that want to come and help. It's actually something that we can really use because of course the kids speak Afrikaans and the volunteers speak English. So there you've got a language barrier. So if we do have locals that inquire, we had a girl from Mossel Bay who wanted to come and help in June, July. But she ended up being too busy with her exams. She's from Stellenbosch. That is something that we're actively pursuing it. And then of course in that case they won't pay for it because they are looking after themselves. They've got their own transport, they're staying with family or with friends or whatever. And if they don't have accommodation, we can help them with that, but they won't pay for the program. The voluntourism is for international volunteers. And then this is what we're going to do with the community experience. The photographs you see here, I did mention we're only launching it the next year, January. These photographs are from our community experience that we do on Surf Tour. When we've got a 2-week tour, this is something that I'll get to later on as well, but when we do 2-week tours on the garden route, we take our tourists to Frimersheim and we bring the Surfer Kids on tour. So one day the Surfer Kids come and surf with the tourists, and the next day we take the tourists to Frimersheim and we walk through the community, we visit the school, we just basically show them around Frimersheim. If there's a shop open.
That day on tour is always a Buffalo Day.
Yes, because we can only bring the kids on tour when we're doing a garden route tour, obviously. Obviously when we go to Mozambique, we're not going to bus the kids up to Mozambique. When we do tours in other areas, we also allocate at least 2 days to doing activities that support the community. In Mozambique, we visited an island in the middle of a lake that they were still living like they have been living for generations, and they were, harvesting coconuts and fish and that kind of thing. Oops. No. It seems to have frozen, or it's just slow. One more. Yeah. Okay, so this is the pretty much the end of it. Yeah, mutual benefits and support. How are these two organizations interlinked? How do they support each other? Why is it a social enterprise and why is it not just a business and a non-profit? Like I said, the surfer kids, they really are the highlight of every Unravel Surf Travel tour in the garden route. 99.9% of the people we have on tour really enjoy that day. A lot of them are a little bit skeptical before the time because they kind of wonder, well, we could be doing something else. But most of the time, we very, very rarely have people that sort of disengage from the experience. Most people are really into it. Most people are good at heart, I believe. So it really is the highlight of every tour. And it benefits the kids and the tourists because it gives the kids an experience that they would otherwise never have, meeting people from a totally different culture, you know, interacting with somebody that's completely foreign. And then the tourists, you know, they get something that they would otherwise never really get. I mean, it's not like going on, you know, it's not like just going on a tour somewhere in, you know, I know that people do townships tours and stuff like that, and not to belittle that, but the experience they get with these kids is much more personal because we actually are involved with these kids on a very, very personal level. So when these kids come and meet our tourists, it really is a very special experience. And then Unravel Surf Travel benefits from that because it gives our tours a very unique local flavor. I mean, it's something that they really, it's not something that you can get at any tour operator. I know there are other people that do this. There's people in Cape Town who've got a very similar, they're called the Surf Shack. They've got a very similar concept that they work with. So it's not completely unique, but for the garden route and for South Africa even, it's not something that you see every day. So that is an attraction for people. People want that. A lot of people that come on tour with us leave and then they say this is the most incredible thing they've ever experienced while on surf tour. And then they've been to Bali and Morocco and other places. And it also creates a source of funding for the surfer kids because also 95% of the people when they leave, they give us their leftover dollars. We go and convert it and we put it in the surfer kids account. So that's a crucial, in fact, up until this year, that was our only source of funding. And the program relied almost 100% on that source of funding from people who come on tour with us. And then Unravel Surf Travel, obviously, you know, we provide almost all of the logistical support for the surfer kids. We use our bakkie, which is standing out here. We use for the surfer kids, not by choice, but because we have to. We don't have another vehicle. We are looking into the possibility of getting a bus sponsored, but it's pretty tricky. It's not an easy thing to do. So that's one thing. We provide all the expertise. I mean, I do all the surf coaching for the surfer kids. And administration-wise, Zhenya and myself, we put a lot of time into the program. So that kind of logistical support is very important, but for us it's an investment. Because ultimately, I would say our goal is to, well, first of all, get these senior kids to take over the Surfer Kids program. That's the first step, and we're doing that with a junior assistant agreement. When they reach high school level, they enter into an agreement with the trust, which kind of obliges them to do certain things and assume certain responsibilities to earn their place in the program. It's only free for young kids, under 11. That's when it's free and they can run around on the beach and cause havoc, and it doesn't bother me. But once they get to a high school level, they've got to start pulling their weight because I'm not going to change their nappies forever. I'm not going to push them into waves. I'm not going to motivate them. I'm not going to say, please, please, please show up today. You know, it's kind of like you really got to start working for it. You don't have to pay for it, but you got to work for it. So that's what happened to our other 3 senior kids. They got their 3 warnings, and unfortunately they had to. It made a positive impact on their life. I worked with them for 3 years as well, but unfortunately at some point you have to say, okay, I can't do anything more. This is up to where I'm willing to go, and beyond that. So hopefully one day Marshall and Billy will take over the program. And then once that happens, what we really want to do, what we're really working towards, is to use the Surfer Kids as a sort of a recruitment tool for Unravel Surf Travel. Surf coaches, tour leaders, you name it. I mean, at the moment, Zhenya and myself, we're doing all of it ourselves. And we can still manage that because it's still relatively small. But now we're getting inquiries for 2015 and 2016 for groups of 20. And then I'm not going to be able to cook for 20 people and do the surf coaching and do the yoga and do the driving and do the tour guiding. I mean, that's going to be a little bit, for a group of 5 it's manageable, but for a group of 20 I'm going to need help. And if I do pay somebody to help me on tour, I would rather do that for someone that I have a personal connection with, not just someone that sent me their CV and, okay, let me work for you kind of thing. So that's what we are working towards. That's the ultimate goal, but it's not a short-term one, it's a long-term one. We've been going for about 4 years, and I'd say we're about 20% done. So,
Jy moet begin vinniger leer, man.
yeah, it's not something you can speed up, eh? But we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, and then the question is why, this is the last slide by the way, why am I doing this? I've tried to think of an answer for a long time, and that's pretty much the best answer I could come up with. Yeah, like I say there, I'm doing it because on the one hand I do want to help people, but I also realize that I can't give everything. I've got to keep something for myself, because I can't help other people if I'm not eating and if I'm not living comfortably. Then how am I going to assist other people? So it's this balancing act, really, balancing between sharing what we have, between not necessarily sharing material stuff, sharing expertise, sharing time, sharing experience, whatever we can share. But there has to be the other side as well, which is to look after ourselves. So we did play with the idea in the beginning to make the entire thing only non-profit, but we very quickly realized that we can't make the whole thing non-profit, because if my car breaks, how am I going to buy a new car? If I also want to send my kids to a good school one day, and I want to be able to buy them the things that I want to buy. And with a non-profit organization, I can't really do that. I can earn a salary, but I can't make profit. So that's why we started this social enterprise. So yeah, that's it's my little bit that I'm doing to make the world a better place.
Well done on that.
When I sometimes despair about the future, I remember that there are still young people. Fortunately, thank you very much. Thank you for being you, for being young, for coming and speaking to us today. Questions, please.
I just actually, sorry again.
No.
If I could just ask, it's a social question, and miskien kan jy ook help. So Tanya praat Afrikaans nou. Die kinders wat nou die interaction kry met die toeriste. Dit is nou die eerste keer dink ek wat baie van hulle daai tipe interaction kan kry. Het hulle begin verander as die toeriste kom? Do they react differently? Soos ek gaan met hulle praat in Afrikaans en hulle interact met my. Nou kom iemand anders met 'n Engelse aksent. Hulle weet hulle is toerists, is hulle bietjie anders.
Ja, in die meeste van die gevalle. Omdat baie van hulle kan nie Engels praat.
Ja.
En party is skaam, dan sal hulle miskien van my vra wat hulle moet sê. Dan sê ek hulle nee, praat maar soos jy gewoonweg praat.
Ja, maar het dit verander oor die 4 jaar?
Ja, is verandering, ja. Maar nie in almal nie. Daar is waarmee veral ek sukkel baie met hulle. Met die kindertjies, maar
sien hulle dit? Ons praat van ondervinding as ons na Mozambique toe gaan byvoorbeeld. Hulle sien die kar is nie van daar nie en skielik staan hulle bakkant. Dis eintlik wat ek vra. Dis nou nie 'n politically correct vraag nie, maar dit is wat ek ek wil weet, dit het nie die kinders laat bakkant staan nie. Hulle weet nog hulle moet werk vir verstaan nie wat ek sê. Ek het die plaas oorkant julle gehad by the way. As jy vir die museum terugkyk na 'n groot brak toe, daai plaasie, ons het eers so 'n dingetjie op die bil. Dis daai, in elk geval, ons sal
I understand the question. I understand what you bedoel. Look, it's a tricky issue, and that's something that has to be handled with care, which is one of the main reasons. I mean, we realized after a year already starting this program, we realized we have to do something about it, and that's the main reason for the junior assistant agreement, is to try and get that understanding across. Listen here, you're not going to get stuff for free. I'm going to give you an experience. I'm going to share my skills with you. I'll give you what you need to practice those skills, but it's not a free-for-all. It's not a charity.
So they don't wait for the bus of tourists to come so that they know this weekend I'm not going to.
I mean, we don't give them anything. I mean, in fact, we don't even give them food when they come on tour. They have to bring their own lunch. There are some kids that come from, obviously, not good homes, and they can't bring food with because their parents drank away all the money that they were supposed to use on food. In those cases, what we do is we will kind of, sometimes we will hand out sandwiches because we don't want to single out kids, but they get the sandwiches either from myself or from Stephanie or from Benny. There's never any exchange of material stuff happening between the tourists and the kids. No, not at all.
Because I didn't want to. I was asking about a culture starting.
Yeah.
Culture within it.
No, not at all.
I just want to make the point that I've been studying responsible tourism for 4 or 5 years now, since the Responsible Tourism Conference at Unravel 2010. And I'm not at the Responsible Tourism Conference in Cape Town today, because I don't think it would be particularly responsible to go to a conference. Of all the experiences that I have seen and studied around the world, and I haven't been with Hermann, I think what the Surfer Kids nonprofit is doing is probably the benchmark.
Okay,
and Greg and I have spent many, many hours discussing the ethics of tourism, and I don't think in anything that I've seen or read about the Surfer Kids that you'll be able to trip Hermann and Jenny up. I don't think you can.
It's not that. It's just I wanted to
but
share that.
I understand the question because it's.
Make a point of it.
Yeah, Pauline?
And that's very good to hear that you are aware thereof.
Yeah, mine's also just a comment. We're also working with lots of youth groups and disadvantaged groups in Bellville and Cape Town. When you have that sense of responsibility, it tends to weed out everyone. Like, for example, if you don't come to the surf lessons, then you can't partake in when the tourists come and have that kind of fun. And those older kids also leaving. It teaches the younger kids who see them go and who see these two stay, gives them something to aspire to that they haven't seen before because they haven't maybe seen it in their parents or whatever. So it literally changes from the bottom up and not from the top down.
I'm with you with that completely.
Do you have specific seasons? I mean, is there a season that you're busier, because in theory, winter should be...
No, for sure, we definitely, I mean, it's like any tourism business. We do 2 tours. We don't operate over Christmas and New Year for several reasons. First of all, house prices to rent a house next to the beach skyrockets. That's the first reason, but not the most important one. I would pay that money for us if I could, but it's just you can't find anything over Christmas and New Year. And we do tend to kind of make bookings on a short-term basis because we have to book houses according to the size of the group. So I can't book it 2 years in advance because I don't know how big the group's going to be 2 years in advance. And then also during Christmas and New Year, I'm busy with surf lessons every day anyway. So we do 2 tours, one in October, end of October, beginning November, and then another one end of November, beginning December, which is the one we're busy with now. And then we start another one in February, end of February, beginning of March, and then sort of middle March towards end of March. That's our 4 summer tours. That's pretty reliable. Then we do one winter tour, which is when we go up north. We went to Mozambique, and we'll do that in the winter time because it's dry and there's no mosquitoes. And we're going to look towards doing a tour in Durban as well because you can do that in the winter as well. Northern KwaZulu-Natal, St. Lucia, that sort of area. So it's between 4 to 6 tours. But yeah, primarily summer season. That's
Very good question. Sonia?
Do you market to Russia? Or do you market to Europe as well?
I mean, we do try and... Look, Russia is our easiest market because Zhenya speaks Russian, and that alphabet of 33 letters is like, each one is a, totally different letter. I mean, it's Greek.
Yeah, it's Russian.
Yeah. It looks like, it took me about 2 months just to learn the alphabet. And they don't speak very good English. So that's kind of good for us because they're not going to come here unless they know there's somebody that's Russian that's here waiting for them at the airport kind of thing. So we haven't actually looked at marketing in other countries until this visa story began. So now we're looking into Europe. Of course, the markets there are more saturated. I think that's a technical term. Look, Zhenya's the business fundi. She's got the MBA. I study philosophy, so. But I think the market. Yeah, it's the writing. The markets there are more saturated, so it's a little bit trickier to get in there. And also, with the Russian market, we haven't needed to spend any money on advertising because it's all social networks, it's all online, it's all one-on-one. She literally talks with the people one-on-one, and then they come. That's how we do it up until now. With the European market, we'll have to spend. I mean, I looked into advertising in the UK travel guide, and that's up to 30,000 rand for a year, and that's not something that we've been able to do up until now, because we started this whole thing without taking a single loan, because I don't want to take a bank loan. I'd stay as far away from a bank loan as I possibly can. Yeah, but obviously, I mean, as we grow, we will, and with the volunteer program, it's primarily Europeans. Both the first one we had was from the US, Colorado, and the girl we just had was from East Germany.
You mentioned that, that's why I wondered who you
So,
marketing.
yeah, the volunteer program we're definitely marketing in Europe. That's going to be our main market, especially Germany. All the inquiries we've had for next year are all from German people. It's like a cultural thing they do. They finish school and then they go and volunteer. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You will have a few weeks ago received a media release from Musselburgh Tourism about the impact of the new immigration regulations, and it was Hermann that I interviewed for that. If you need it, just phone me or email me and I'll send it to you. Craig, you had a question?
Yeah, and was more. First of all, I was going to say congratulations. It's inspiring. It really is inspiring, and whether you know it or not, your model, and I think that Ingrid was correct in saying your philosophy and your MBA is actually the perfect match. But over the last 4.5 years, there is an independent index, what would you call it? It's a volunteerism index, responsible index being developed, independently of these conferences that are taking place. Because of a lot of what's taking, there are a lot of volunteer programs taking away opportunity rather than contributing opportunity. And I think that the Gardnerites, the team should actually, this presentation should be done there, and one should align that model that's been developed to what you're doing, to show them how, for example, you're contributing to a new space, this new little area, which if more businesses spread their wings, you're going to be spreading the social benefit. So I'd like to congratulate you and really this is the type of stuff that I hope will, when we open tourism books and textbooks, that these case studies are there. I'm not seeing it when I go and speak to lecturers. I'm not seeing that stuff there. And the final message is to the writers and the bloggers, and that we have to interrogate the products out there in terms of that good model, and that's what's going to get other people to strive and learn from you.
It's a program. It's a discussion that we've had a lot. Just the fact that it's an MBA and a philosopher doing tourism makes the difference. In the same way at 34 South, it was a retailer that did a restaurant. The tourism industry needs a new language, and if you go to this tourismweek.coza, you'll see an article that I wrote about it with Greg there. The tourism industry definitely needs a new language, and this is the kind of language it needs. And it's going to come from people who think outside of tourism.
I was also involved with a volunteer program who was also involved with the community upliftment program and so on. And I gotta say, over the 9 years that I was there, all the issues that we came across, you've already sorted. You've already overseen that. So well done jumping to the front of the pack there. I see a very well thought out model. And I just wish you the best of luck in getting your volunteer program off the ground, because that is probably most of your driving force from. And us being involved with both a business and a nonprofit together.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
clip the time because I find this so interesting. Any more questions?
I just want to come back as him next time I come back to it.
You want to come back as him?
Yeah.
Why? Because he's got a beard and you don't?
No, I just haven't looked personal. I've got to start. Like my grandmother.
Because my office is in
Russian.
I have a question for you. Can we get a copy of that,
Yeah.
perhaps in PDF, if you can email it to me?
Yeah,
I can
this
send it to
is
everybody
a
else.
PDF. I'll give it to you.
Thank you. I think Nani wants to put it onto the memory stick.
Yeah, if you
Are you going to be handing out memory sticks this morning?
Yeah,
Ellie.
I just want to say that I've worked with them with the Ross Taylor surf competition. When I say work with them, I have photographed the Ross Taylor surf competition, and I have never seen kids that love surfing so much. When it even gets cold, or everybody disappears off the beach, they stay, they surf, and if they're in that mode, I've got this photo of this little chap. He goes like this and he stays like this until he's completely out with the wave. It's amazing to watch, and it's maybe an invitation to all of you with next year's Ross Taylor to come and watch them and see what they do.
No, we basically, the Ross Taylor people, we basically run the development division for them. So I organize the judges, and I run around like a headless chicken trying to organize all the kids, and because they never really had the development division, and then we brought our kids and we sort of created the division for kids that can't really surf but then want to surf. And then some of the kids like Marshall have actually moved on to surfing the proper divisions at the Ross Taylor. So at the moment we've got about 5 kids surfing the proper division, and the rest of the kids are all surfing the development. So,
Ek verstaan jy het gister jou laaste eksamen geskryf.
Lekker!
Wat is jou plan vir die volgende jaar?
Jy moet plek toe vir die rage, man.
Ek is besig om met Marshall te praat. Wat beplan jy om volgende jaar te doen? Wat beplan jy om volgende jaar te doen?
well, he's only grade 9.
Oh, I thought it was grade 12. Okay.
No.
Back to school.
I got school
But this holiday, I'm doing surf lessons for Andries from Surf's Up. I'm going to be at Diaz Beach every day, and this is going to be the first time that Marshall has helped me with surf lessons before. We've sort of given him. I'm doing surf lessons this holiday, so I'm going to be on Diaz Beach.
I'm going to be there too doing the Diaz summer students.
Okay, awesome. See you there. But we have given Marshall a couple of trial runs in terms of helping with surf lessons. But this holiday is going to be the first time that he's actually going to earn money helping me with surf lessons, because there'll be groups of between 6 and 12 people, which I can't handle on my own. The person I'm doing the lesson for, Andries, doesn't want to close the shop, so he can't come and help. So either Marshall is going to help us with the surf lessons. It'll be the first time he's doing it for holiday and holiday money. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm confident. No, I mean he has done it before, so I'm sure it'll go well.
Cool. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Herman. Congratulations.